Hello, everybody. Welcome back. So as you can see, we have a little bit different view of the studio today. And because I'm at Betsy's computer recording this, because if you see my desk right over there, if you look on the desk, you will not see a keyboard. And that's because Saturday in a skillful means session, I dumped a whole thing of tea on it, a mug of tea. So you'll have to excuse the audio because I'm using the audio that's on her camera versus my professional audio, my professional microphone. So we'll get by. I'm sure of that. I cut many a video on something like this. So what I want to talk about today is a phenomena. It's really pretty weird. But it's an expression of the bubble of self-reflection. For those of you who are familiar with the bubble of self-reflection, if you're not and you are interested in it, I have 2 videos on it. Just go and Google Fred Davis, the bubble of self-reflection. There's not anybody else got anything out there like that, so it'll come up with 2 videos of mine. But in brief, the bubble of self-reflection is simply when someone comes to me and they've been around non-duality for a while, probably, they don't have to have been, but anyway, they think they know some things and they think they know some other things that they don't know. And so when we go into an awakening session, and sometimes they will stop me right at the beginning before I've had a chance to leap on them. And they'll say, so Fred, or I'll have just started the session. So Fred, I already understand that there's no Bob. I mean, I've seen that. I've seen that there's no Bob. So there's, we don't need to do this because there's just no Bob, and I get it. And what they don't understand is that at that moment, for 99.5% of them, that's going to be the character reporting on what the character knows, which it might be a nice psychological comfort in relativity, but it is not going to do you any good in terms of real freedom. So because it's when awakeness sees that there's no Bob or no Fred, that's when freedom is first noticed. Put it that way. That's all you have to do is notice that you're already free. I know this sounds like bullshit. It sounded like bullshit to me when I heard it, but it's absolutely true. The difference is that I have a way to show you that, right? We just hear about it and we just agree or disagree. And it doesn't make any difference whether you agree or disagree. For most of us, we just don't get it. And I never got it from that pointer. But I could certainly see the truth of that pointer once awakening had occurred. So here is it's a paradox, sort of. Well, it's a mystery. It's not a paradox. It's really just a mystery. And the mystery is that people come to me, and even in early post-awakening, or even maybe not so early post-awakening, I did it, I mean, we always hear that seeking stops upon awakening, and that may be true in others, to other people, but it was not true for me. Is that I had a fairy tale awakening and all that, but there was still the sense that after that I lost it, that I'd had something very special and then I lost it. So the problem that I'm going to call this non-duality and me, right? Somehow that's going to be the title of this video. I think it's going to be non-duality and me, because it could not be expressed much more clearly than that. And I really got that, from Betsy. She said, it's this non-duality plus one thing. That's the whole issue. Why don't you tell them? And I do, but I have not done it in quite this way. So I came up with non-duality and me as being, I mean, if you are already an awakened being, you are laughing, right? And or you might be crying tears of pity, but you're not thrown by that title at all. You know exactly. You already know the joke. You're already in on it. So, and the way that this will be expressed, this non-duality in me, is it will be expressed like that can come in. What we don't know is that right after a true seeing, an awakening experience, right behind that, typically, ego will come right back in because it's been seen through, but only for a second, or only for a minute, or only for 10 minutes, or only for an hour, whatever. And it will come right back in after that. Ego will show up and it will say, so what should I do in order to hold on to this awakening? That's what the client will ask me, at which point I know that the client is back in the dream, because an awakened being would just simply never ask that, because it's not a matter of what you can do to hold on to this awakening. It's a matter of the truth is that you can't possibly lose it. You can't lose what you already are. So you are awakeness. You are more like a verb than you are a noun. You're not a, when I went looking for awakening, I went looking for something to happen, something else to happen, something different to happen. And it was going to happen sometime in the near future, probably in that direction over there or something. And the idea that I'm going to get clear soon, that I will wake up soon, that I will be clear soon, I will see the monkey soon, or whatever, is it's just not true, right? You wake up now or never. You wake up here or nowhere. Now that implies to this video. This video is going to give you everything you need to wake up, I promise you. So you could wake up during this video. That would be my advice, is to just give it up and just wake up during this video. Because when Bob tells me that there's no Bob, nothing's happening. That tells me that Bob has not seen the truth. Not that Bob ever could, but it tells me that that is not an awakened being. So how do I achieve awakening? That's like non-duality in me, because we're right back to, how do I do something to get to non-duality or hang on to non-duality, given the fact that I'm actually a unit here in relativity. So it's just the identification is way off. And this, I'm laughing with you, because I mean, I did it. I was the seeker for 24 years, and I was crazy for 3 years in post-awakening. So crazier, and probably some people would be very suspicious of me now, but you would have certainly been more than suspicious for the first 3 years, because there was just a lot of crazy conditioning here. And when they tell you that you got to dance out the dance, what they're saying is that the conditioning has got to play out. I don't like the way that I don't like the wording that he used, and I don't even know the wording that he used. I know that this is the way it's translated. But Ramana Maharshi said that there were 3 kinds of karma. So don't leave the room if you're not a believer in karma. I understand, but just stay with me. So, or if you are a believer, don't be offended, okay? So non-duality said there are 3, non-duality himself, Ramana Maharshi, said that there are 3 types of condition. He said there is that carved in stone conditioning, which will happen. It must happen through this unit, whether the unit's awake and brilliantly awake, or whether the unit is lost in the dream completely, or the unit never heard of the dream, never heard of awakening, never heard of non-duality or Hinduism or Zen or anything like that. It is carved in stone. it is going to play out. This moment right here, this is the playing out of the inevitable. That's the truth. Is that this was not, it was not, it's not premeditated because there's no one to premeditate it. It's spontaneous, but it's nonetheless was inevitable from the beginning because it's everything starts. Well, there's no start. There's no beginning. So everything doesn't begin way on back, and then there's only oneness here. Yeah. So this is, so another way to put this would be oneness and me. I could say that. Oneness and me, but I liked the non-duality of me even more. But they both are pointing to the same, very same thing, is different languaging, and if we were to get deep in the weeds, they would not mean the same thing. But for right now, let's just say that non-duality and oneness are the same. It's just a provisional teaching that we're going to take under our wings so that we can talk. So when someone asks me, Fred, what do I do? I had that beautiful awakening. I had it 5 years ago, and right after that I lost it, and I just can't get it back. And I really feel for you, because I had an awakening in 1992. It went away very quickly because the ego co-opted it, and then for the next 14 years I was trying to get it back. Off and on, I didn't sit in my basement waiting for it to come back, but I did nonetheless. I pursued what I considered to be reawakening for 14 years, and it never did happen. Awakening occurred again after 14 years, but it wasn't, well, pardon me, the noticing of awakeness took place again after 14 years, but there was never anything that was asleep that could possibly have come to wake up. And that's the place, and that's the course here. Those are the facts here, is that there's no one here to wake up. I can't wake you up, right? You know, you look on my website, you may think so, because that's the way that I talk in that language. I use that language because I'm primarily speaking to unawakened beings, and that's the way that we would talk about it, is that call me and I'll wake you up or whatever. But number one, there's no I here, so I can't possibly do that. Whatever does happen during an awakening session is none of the credit belongs here, because this is just a walking cadaver, and what happens through this unit is really none of my business. But what I notice is that I can't find anything where actually I'm doing anything wrong. See, in my opinion, I might be doing something wrong, and in many of your opinions, I'm doing something wrong. But in God's opinion, this is just fine. See, I'm just fine with it. And the reason I'm just fine with it is that I lowered my standards. I was sure that Fred was not doing it right, that Fred was not getting it right. Fred needed to, and that was with everything in life, whether it was kickball or enlightenment. This unit could not satisfy itself. And what it was really trying to satisfy was thought. And we're going to call those thoughts. You cannot show me a mind devoid of thought. It's an old Zen koan, and it just can't be done. So what there is thought, and then we tend to pile all those thoughts together, and we act like that they're in a box in our head, and that's mind. There is a brain in our head, and it's a wonderful brain, and it does some absolutely fabulous processing. Doesn't do much in the way of generation of thought. So other than, conditioning, which is it's a master at that, right? Which is it's thirsty, pick up the can, put it to your lips. It's great at doing that. What should I do to wake up right now? If you're listening to your brain, you will stay asleep for 40 years, 50 years, 60. You will die looking for enlightenment. I hate to tell you that, but that's the way it is. But you don't have to die looking for enlightenment, because you can notice that the term non-duality, let's just look at that. Now, what is the term non-duality say? It's what we're all studying. Most of us have been studying it for a long time. We've been reading up on it. We've been going to conventions about it, or whatever, retreats or workshops about it. Been listening to tapes, watching videos. Now, I call it studying because I was just absolutely obsessed. I couldn't do anything else, and I had no idea what people did in life other than this. I couldn't understand why anybody did anything other than this. Football, I don't know why you're doing that, because this is the only important thing. Right, and I'm sorry your children are hungry, but this is the important thing, and that's taken too far, of course. But it is. But that was my obsession. I didn't have any children. I didn't have to worry about them. I did have to worry about my cats and myself. I had to keep us fed and in clothes and keep the electricity flowing. I managed to do that, but my focus was on this. My focus was very much on this for years. And I barely made it. That's the truth, because when I woke up, I was about 1,000,000 miles from awakening, even though I had studied it for years. I would have, nobody ever woke up and said, that's what I read about last night. That's just it happened just as Bob said it would. No, it can't be told, right? It can't be described. It can't be. Well, we do some descriptions. There's a lot of description and not much in the way of prescription. I don't know of a prescription because there's nothing that you can do. But even noticing that there's nothing you could do, inquiry is available to you. This chair of Betsy just rolls like crazy, so it looks like I'm just coming out of my seat. It is because the chair's trying to roll away from me. So, non-duality and me. So how do I get my awakening back, or how do I get to enlightenment? Now, we have said that the field that we're in study of is non-duality. Now, let's just look at that word. What does duality mean? Duality means that there's subject, object, and it may be very, very likely will be subject in many, many objects, right? That's still duality. It doesn't have to just be two, although it can't be less than two and be duality. See, it's when it's less than two. In other words, when there's something that exists but does not know itself, that's unconscious awakeness, which is if you'll just check your own state prior to the birth of that unit that you're wearing. I think what you'll come up with is that you don't have any memories of that. I know that people that claim they do and all this and that and the other. I'm just telling you the non-dual truth. I'm not telling you what can occur within the dream. And anything that occurs within the dream, and I don't argue about that. The only thing I do is state the unequivocal truth. And sometimes I do that to lessen the delight of others. Sometimes in satsang, I just have to, because I love that person so much that I don't give a damn what they think of me. I love them more than I'm concerned about what they think of me. And that's just the way it is with this. And the reason I love them more than that is that they are me. I know that. They do not know that. Oh God, what was that quote? Well, I'm going to read a quote here. It's just absolutely fabulous. Here it is. My friend Art sent me this as an email. It's just fabulous. Now, this is from Henry Miller. He said this in 1958. And for those who don't know, Henry Miller was a major novelist. Not necessarily, well, stuff got to hit bestseller list because he wrote a lot about sex. But any rate, he was a terrific novelist, very well respected. He was a crazy man on the streets of Paris in the 30s, along with, all the Hemingway and Fitzgerald and all these people. And so this is what he wrote. At its best, thought is but speculation, a pastime such as the machine enjoys when it sparks. God has thought everything out in advance. We have nothing to solve. It has all been solved for us. We have but to melt, to dissolve, to swim in the solution. We are soluble fish, and the world is an aquarium. We are soluble fish. In other words, we are fish that just upon the touch of water, we blend with it, if you will. Or there's not really a fish there. There's just an appearance of a fish. There's nothing but the ocean. Or in this case, whatever. The sea, the pond, the river, it doesn't make any difference. It's all the same for fish. And for the seeker fish, there are lots, and there's oceans full of seeker fish. And what they're looking for is the ocean. and in ponds, you got land, those seekers, they're chock full of ponds because they're looking for the pond. They're looking for the water. Where is the water? That's what fish say. What is the water? That's what seeker fish say. Most fish don't even think about it. They just go along and be fish. See, but that ain't good enough for seeker fish. And seeker fish don't realize it, but they want to understand everything. That's the bottom line. And this thing that we're talking about here, non-duality, just not understandable. And non-duality in me is not only not understandable, it's insane. It's an insane concept. So it's appropriate for me to use it for a title for one of my videos. Because non-duality means not, not, duality, two or more, not two. So since there's not two, is there any way that you can get some separate awakeness, some separate enlightenment? Is there any way you can get that? And this non-duality is pointing out the obvious. It's pointing, what it's pointing out is that this is it. And it goes, you are far more than this, but this can't exist without you. Promise you that. Without your precious divine attention, well, what can exist in the absence of your present divine attention? What can you find outside of your attention? Can you find anything outside of attention? No, everything that you can find is held where? Within your attention. So non-duality plus me means that there's a make-believe person, right? A make-believe character. Just a mental projection that is accompanied by, patterns of trapped conditioning, right? Like the Zen masters used to call the study warts, or the no account Zen students used to call them rice bags, because that's what they did. They came in and they ate rice, but they didn't get anything, and they wouldn't take anything. So think of this as being like as being a bunch of rice bags, and we show up and we think that's going to do it. And for some people, it actually does. I've talked to them not every day, not every week, but on a pretty regular basis. I do just have talks with people who just woke up spontaneously. Now there was nobody there that woke up, so let me change my language. There's no such thing as an awakening. There's no, because there's nothing asleep. You may hear me say that, but if I say that, I'm just talking within the language of seeking language, right? And I try, sometimes I have to use it in order to get people beyond it. We use the tools that we have. We use language to go beyond language, use the body to go beyond the body. We use the mind to go beyond the mind. And there is no mind, I know, but this is conceptual. We're trying to take the inconceivable and make it conceptual. And it can't be done, but we can get pretty damn close. So non-duality means not to. So if you're going to achieve enlightenment, who is it that's going to achieve enlightenment? I was a person, and I bet tons of these. I was a person that, what I knew was that I was going to wake up soon. And then I had an awakening in 1992. Ego just chalked it up. And it just disappeared almost in no time. And then I spent 14 years trying to get my awakening back. I kept waiting to reawaken Fred. So you think you're the body, most of you think you're the body, and that you're hoping that body is going to get some information that's going to help that body get to the next level. This is it. This is the level. Are there different layers of, so to speak, different variations, differentiation of clarity? Absolutely. That's the truth, is that there are all sorts of clarity, but there's only one thing that's clear or cloudy, and that's awakeness. Awakeness is a verb, it's not a noun. You've been chasing awakeness. You can't outrun it. You'll never take it down. It's like chasing your shadow around the earth. How many times can you, how long can you chase your shadow? If you could stay in sunlight, how long could you chase your shadow around the world, or as you ran around the world? Well, indefinitely, forever, so to speak, until the unit died. And that's what you've been doing for most of you. Not all of you. Some of you have seen through that, but I haven't seen through it in 24 years. So I'm not up here bragging that I'm a quick study and that you're a slow person. I couldn't get it. It was the most obvious thing in the world. I can see that now, but I couldn't see that then. You probably can't see that then, but it is true. And I'm hoping that you will come to see that now, because you'll never come to see it anytime other than right now. And what I'm talking to is not a Bob or a Karen. What I'm talking to is myself. What I'm talking to is non-duality. See, and what is it that's talking? Non-duality. And where is all of this occurring? Within non-duality. So we've used the words within and without, but just notice that there is no without non-duality. There's no outside to non-duality. Hence the name non-duality. See, you're waiting for the bus. You're a bus. You yourself are a bus, and you're stopped at a bus stop, and you're sitting there waiting patiently for the bus. God Almighty. So you're waiting for the bus, but you're already the bus. So you're trying to get to, oh, I can't wait till I hook up with awareness, because awareness is non-dual. Well, tell me, where's the end of non-duality? Where does that stop? If it stops, it isn't non-duality, because there's actually no within non-duality in truth, because there's no without. There's no center, there's no boundary, there's no middle, there's no outside, right? You can, sometimes they say, that the middle is either everywhere or nowhere, and I understand that, but I think the nowhere is a better pointer for us. But if we use the oneness metaphor, which is the oneness is a metaphor, it's a teaching, it's a provisional teaching. It will come to be seen as being the truth for a while. At least that's what happens in this teaching. But let's not go into all that. Let's just stick with oneness. That's really the only place you need to get. Not going to be a lot of benefits for anything or anybody as we move on. Yet you will find that you'll probably be like me, which is that you wouldn't give up the clarity. What the hell does that even mean? For anything, you don't want to give it back, but it's not doing anything for you. But it's an understanding that is incredible. But let's stick with oneness. Okay. So oneness, when we start looking for oneness, let's count them. How many onenesses do you think we're looking for? One? Are we looking for the other oneness? Ooh, are we? Where's the other oneness? The cool oneness, the mystical oneness. I want that experience, says an imaginary character, says conditioning. You're not even thinking this character coming up because there's no you to think up and there's actually no central mind. There is, I'm not denying the brain and all of that. I have, neuroscientists that are students of mine. So I understand the basic physiology here. They know much more than I do, but I can at least have a conversation with them if they deign to have one with me. So we have to see that there's no such thing as non-duality, and that's what you want to know. So Fred, what effect is this non-duality going to have on my life? Who's asking? I know that you came in a barber suit. You sent me a Barbara PayPal, but there's no Barbara there. I'm telling you that. It just is not. So given that there's no Barbara over there, is it at all possible that a Barbara did wake up sometime in the past and lost it? No, because there's no Barbara. How about Barbara is going to wake up soon? No, because there's no Barbara. So there's just awakeness here. And what is awakeness that we're dying for awakeness to recognize? That you're it. I'm it. I can say, all of this is not other than me. None of this, all this together does not equal me, but none of this can exist without me. So all of this is it is me, and it is an expression of me. And you can say that exact same thing. You don't need to be a spiritual teacher. You don't need to wear black t-shirts, right? And have Buddha statues in your house. This is the way I decorate. It has nothing to do with what we're doing here, right? It does point toward the path that I've stumbled along as I made no progress whatsoever, thinking that I was making progress, but sort of I did. Nothing's ever wasted. Even intellectual understanding of what I'm talking about is not wasted. It's important. It's where we start, isn't it? We all want to poo-poo in the intellectual understanding. Jesus, where else are you going to start, right? I mean, I start doing everything from the intellectual understanding, don't you? I mean, I have an intellectual understanding that this is a shirt, that it's black, and I'm supposed to wear one when I cut videos. So, right? It's an agreement. It's not a fact. I could cut videos just fine without my shirt on, but nobody would watch them, which defeats the point. So, and when I said I could cut videos, I'm not referring to Fred could cut videos. There's no Fred. There's just no Fred. The only thing that can cut a video is the only thing that is. And what is the only thing that is? Well, the only thing that is what is. but this what is extends beyond relativity, but if we just take it to the boundaries of relativity, so to speak, then so do you think we can take a step from duality into non-duality? Well, I don't know about duality, but I can tell you that non-duality has no borders. And I can tell you that duality is a state of mind. That's all it is. It's a state of mind. You all these units believe, I mean, yeah, and there's no reason, no harm in that, right? I mean, my neighbors are all, they're not consciously awake. They're not, conscious awakeness is not, is not consciously functioning through my neighbors over there. And I never think about this, and they don't want it. They don't need it. I'm fine with that. They're fine with that I stay the hell over here and that the craziness doesn't spread over there. What's happening here is that awakeness is recognizing, oh, I see, there's only awakeness. So if there's only awakeness, or we'll go to oneness, if there's only oneness, what does that make me? The hell, I ask you that question all the time, but why don't you ask me? There's no separate me over here. See, this is the joke of non-duality and me. There's no me. That's the me with a question mark that I'm going to have on the subject line, with probably an exclamation point too, as I view it, as I see it in the future. Might happen, might not. I might name this, Fred's crazy day in the study. I don't know. Because I've got my plan, but that doesn't have anything to do with the plan. Or it might have something to do with the plan in the sense that the two might match up, and I might think I did that. Because I'm perfectly willing to overlook the 10,000 things that do not go my way, which I do not take responsibility for. But the slightest thing happened in a positive way, and I'm all over that. I did that. I'm responsible for that. There's no non-duality in me. There's only non-duality. There is no me over there to wake up. I know that this is, what's he saying? Just feel it. Because when you're going, what's he saying? You're trying to figure it out. Don't try. There is such a thing as transmission. I don't understand it, but I know that there is because people tell me about it all the time. And I'm just going to suggest that, they tell me that people get around this unit and things start to change and they like it. And they come back, some of them come back every month and we talk and, they like that and stuff, and their life changes and stuff like that. So, but it's not because we are discussing non-duality, it's because we come together and we resonate together, so to speak, as if we were separate. We resonate as non-duality. That's what happens. I've had people say, I wish you had 15-minute sessions or 10-minute sessions, because all I have to do is see you, and boom, I'm clear. Why is that? There's just a deep, very deep resonation. And there's conditioning there that just runs for the hills when it sees this unit, right? Because it knows, this unit's going to throw it out. If it ain't true, we're going to toss it out. And when everything else is gone except for the truth, then the truth is all that's left. So we throw out everything that's not true here, even when it hurts somebody's feelings, which is not really often. I mean, I think I'm pretty well loved in the community, to tell you the truth. If I'm not, then Betsy's really busy sending me emails from different addresses. So, but I insist on the truth. That's all I'm saying, is that I am a happy slave to the truth, but sometimes I'm not even happy about being the carrier of truth, so to speak, or the example of truth, whatever you want to call it. But it doesn't matter because there's no Fred here to lodge a complaint with anything else. There's only oneness. There's only awakeness. But you know, scientists can tell you about the Big Bang, and that's not the beginning of everything. There is no beginning. But that is probably the beginning, maybe the beginning of oneness. But it's not your beginning. You don't have any beginning. You don't have any end. You are already spotless and free. You are already wisdom itself. Is that kind of compliment. I'm a philosopher is a lover of philosophy. And as a lover of philosophy, about the highest thing I can do is tell you that you are it. I mean, I don't have any better compliments than that. I really don't. You are this wide open, awakened space. See, this space, you think that the space is what's separating from us from all the important stuff. It's not. It's not. The space is your body. And your body holds all of these appearances. Now, the funny thing is there's no outside your body, which means there's no actually inside your body. But that's, now we're getting into the, you know, just into the paradoxes. And we don't want to go too heavily into those today, but we do go into them. I promise you that, because if you're not comfortable with paradox, get the hell out of non-duality, right? Because if you're not comfortable with paradox and you're not willing to go through some misery until you become comfortable with paradox, then just stay home. Don't come here. I mean, just quit buying those books, right? Just unplug YouTube, so to speak. Just, you know, like uninstall it, unless you want to watch something else. But don't, you know, don't spend any time on this unless you really want the truth. And what I found out is that surprisingly few want the real truth. And I'm not saying that I'm the only carrier, or there's no I here, but there's a pipeline here. And that pipeline is not the singular teaching that's going to wake up the world. The world is not going to wake up. That great big awakening that everybody is talking about, where everybody's going to wake up and all that, I wish I had some of what they're smoking. It should not have happened. But you will wake up over and over and over again, but it's not you won't really wake up. You'll just realize that you're already awake. You'll realize that you are awakeness itself. God, this is so much fun. I swear to God, I could sit here for 3 hours talking about this, but you wouldn't watch, and Betsy wouldn't like to stay away from her desk that long. So I guess I'm just going to go ahead and tell you that I love you and say goodbye. So I love you, and I'm saying goodbye, but I never say really goodbye. I'm with you all the time. I'm with you in your heart. I am with you in life. I am everywhere, all the time. I cannot leave you, so don't worry about leaving me. You can't. That'll make a lot of sense to you one day. Be well, and don't worry. Everything really is just fine. I swear to you.